And I made this song in bed. I was just sitting in bed. It was at like night. And at this point, we're like 15 minutes in to making the song. Like I've got the vocal, the drums, and this bass sound. And I was just like, boom. I was like, oh, like in bed, like almost sort of like cheering, just being like, okay, this feels really good.
This episode is being supported by Tape It. If you currently use voice notes to record your ideas, you should try Tape It instead.
There's this festival called Lost Village that's in up near Lincoln, around there, and it's one of my favourite festivals. Like, absolutely love doing it. And the crowds, it's like I can't lose there. Like the crowd's so excited about me playing, and I'm so excited about playing, and we just all know we're just going to have the best time.
That's great.
When I do it. It's one of, like, I really, really love playing there. And it was like a week or so away before the show, and I was like preparing music, thinking about what I was going to play, and I was like, I wish I had something new. I was like, I need to make something that just everybody just understands straight away, and you hear it, and it's like you've heard it before, but you've never heard it before, and you're just loving it. This was the sort of like just this basic idea I had in my head. And I made this song in bed. I was just sitting in bed. It was at like night, and I was like, well, I should start with a vocal idea. Like everybody loves a big like pop vocal or whatever. And I had a folder of acapellas, and the very first one, because they're in alphabetical order, was this one, 3LW, No More. And so I got that, and I just dragged it into Ableton. I was like, I'll start with that. And I found like a chunk of it. I was like, oh, it's got a catchy hook to it and stuff. And then I realized I could get it working. It's quite fast for me. It's 140 BPM. And I remember being like, it works if it's slower than 140 BPM. The vocal's a little bit weird. I need to do something a little bit faster. So I had like, where's the vocal? Like it's been time stretched so much. It's in an uncomfortable position, and then to sort of mask that, I must have like, what have I done here? I've made just a small loop of a bit of the vocal, and I think to give the vocal a bit of a pulse to it, so in that vocal sound there's some timing, so that there's you hear the voice and it's got a bit of a groove to it that you can sort of like lock in and cover up a bit of the weird time stretching artifacts and everything. So I had that and a kick drum. There's the kick drum. Yeah. Like this is the starting point. I had that, and I heard this, and I was like, okay, this is like, I can imagine going to a show and you're hearing that vocal and the kick drums there and time and everything. And then I was like, I need to get some drums, and I didn't even program any drums or anything. I was just like, let me just try some loops first and see if anything fits. And I found this beat that I'd made, I think on the Drum Brute, on this little like drum machine, and I put that in. I think I probably even used it on other records before. I think it was just something that was there. And what's on this channel? Oh, and then an offbeat hi-hat, just make it roll. And this is all happening this in the space of like 3 or 4 minutes. You know, right. I'm like, I've got this up and running, and I was like, okay, right, this is. I was like, I just knew. I was like, I've got something good here. This is really good. And I was like, well, what's going to happen though to turn it into something? And I was like, well, it needs, I guess people would just want a wicked bass line to come in at that point. And so I just got a couple of notes, and then I was like, I should try and, it would be really funny. I was thinking at that point, we've had like a really like wobbly, mad sort of dubsteppy sort of bass sound. And again, really quick like that, I was just choosing presets on Omnisphere. And after a couple, I didn't make these are just presets, and I found this thing. And once I had that,
what's that called?
It's called something like Wandering Around. People keep sending me a link to the preset on Omnisphere, being like, hang on, we just found Swaggering Around.
Right.
It's called Swaggering Around, yeah, and it's a bass sound on Omnisphere. And it's just oh, my stomach's rumbling. I hope that's not getting picked up in the. I haven't had any lunch yet. I combined
extra
that.
Bass.
That that didn't have enough sub, so I've combined it with something that's also Omnisphere, but I've frozen it. It must just be like, I mean, that's just very low sort of sine wave stuff. So the combination of those two sounds And at this point, we're like 15 minutes in to making the song. Like, I've got the vocal, the drums, and this bass sound, and I was just like, boom! I was like, oh, like in bed, like almost sort of like cheering, just being like, okay, this feels really good. This is really, really vibey. And then that was it. And then straight away, I was like, all right, well, I've got everything I need. I just need to come up with some sort of arrangement that turns it into something. And I added a couple of melodic things. I added this sound, which is another Omnisphere preset, just to give it a lift. And it's all so basic. It's just presets with very little bits of EQ, hardly anything much going on at all. And then I added, what's this one? Like a little arpeggiating bell. I was like a couple of touches of things that are like very me.
Yeah.
You know, to have those sounds and just put a couple of things in that when people heard this, when I played at the festival, like they knew it was me as well because of something like this, you know, like sort of signature sort of thing. And then I was like, I've got the wobbly bass and all these things. I should have some sort of like big rolling fill, like very just bog standard, like classic sort of dance music sort of things, and then another drop, and that was it, you know?
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, all right, and put it together very quickly. And then the next day I would have woken up, I quite like in the night to get the main idea for the song, and then wake up, and then I'll spend a few hours the next day just like tweaking it to make sure everything's exactly right. Like the sorts of things that I'll then go back through being like, is these little dropouts. Like you've got a moment here where everything sort of stops for a second. And you miss out a couple. I'll just delete a few kick drums here and there and things like that just keep making the loop sort of reset here and there. And like, it's when you've got something like this, there's just a few elements, or most of my tracks, like there'll be a few elements, and you're just constantly you're doing little things here and there that just re-trigger the looping ideas in your mind, or feel like something sort of refreshing and starting again. When you hit it, like it just keeps it interesting without anything too sort of dramatic happening.
If you, like so many of our guests, use voice notes to capture your ideas, you will love Tape It. It's the iPhone recording app designed specifically for musicians and songwriters. With Tape It, you can record straight from your lock screen, set markers, add notes, and even include photos of settings. Plus, there's Cloud Sync, you can import your old voice notes, and to stay on top of it all, Tape It has great labeling features like automatic instrument detection. And all of the above is free. If you currently use voice notes, switching to Tape It is a no-brainer. And there's more. If you upgrade to Tape It Pro, it uses 2 microphones on your iPhone along with gentler dynamic compression to give a much more natural sound than any of the usual apps. And we have a huge offer for you. 50% off Tape It Pro if you upgrade now. Just go to the app and use the promo code TAPENOTES or click the link in the description below.
And it was just there. You know, it was just like very, very little work went into it. It just came together. It sounded good. And people ask me about it all the time. They're like, oh, you only use this really like little kick drum on it. That's such an unusual thing to have this like little kick. Big, like, you know, people are always going for the heaviest kick they can. And I was just like, I just didn't even think about any of it. It was just sort of like, it's just, these are the sounds I just chose in this quick moment. Yeah.
And the fills, you're not adjusting anything. You're just kind of taking something and dropping it in. And
the little drum fills you hear are in that, this drum machine recording that is quite long, you know, so that's got the variation in it. So this is just the drum machine. No, I'm not looking at the drum machine channel. This is just the drum machine, or it's just a long bit of audio, and it's me just playing on the drum machine. So I'm just opening the decay on the hi-hat all the time, like getting that sound. And yeah, I recorded this ages and ages ago with no particular sort of purpose. And this was 128 ppm, it says, when it was recorded, so I've had to speed it up a lot. So it's not great quality, you know, you can hear that it doesn't sound like a really nicely recorded drum machine. Doesn't have any like weight to it. But then combined with the kick and the other drums, and the other drums are just on their own in like a drum rack. very, very simple, just like offbeat hi-hat, some sort of snare sort of thing. I've just thrown them in. I've just put like swing on it. It was all just like boom, boom, boom. Here's the ideas. And they've got a little bit of EQ. Like there's no compressors on anything. There's no distortion. There's no effects on anything. It's just these few raw sounds, a few presets, and
do you adjust
a little bit of
do you,
EQ.
Anything like that?
Let's look. Did I pan anything? No. Every single sound's just in the center as it was. There's nothing. Or maybe on that drum roll. No, that's all central as well. Yeah, it was just one of those. Every now and then you'll have one that's just like, oh, this is easy. It's just all coming together.
Right.
Because the preset sound, that bass sound is very wide. You know, so it's good that everything else is just in the middle, because then when the bass comes in, it's just super wide and sounds exciting. Like.